of everything.
Are we rolling? Mic check 1 2. Mic check 1 2. Fuck's sake. I want to get one of these cameras, you know. Yo, big up COE. It's your girl like ZEE with
Betty, Reshma.
So it's good to see you guys again. I just wanted to give a quick update on our last conversation. We spoke about sexual assault. And what I found very unfortunate, very disgusting was the comment section. I found a lot of men kind of saying, who the hell would sexually assault these women? Who the hell would rape these women? Very nasty, disrespectful comments. And luckily, my phone is dead. Otherwise, I will name and shame every single one of you. Because the comments were so vile and so disgusting. And it was just shocking, to be honest. And what I found shocking as well was some of the women as well. Especially, I'm not going to name their name, but it was a Muslim sister who kind of started doing what we said, victim blaming. And she started saying that, well, you shouldn't be in the park at night time if you wasn't there in the first place and that would have happened. I think that's absolutely disgusting, absolutely disgraceful, because there is no, whether I was walking in the park by myself, whether I was in an alleyway by myself, that is no justification for a man to sexually assault a woman. So, I mean, for me personally, this issue has highlighted people's mentalities. Because the sensitivity of this issue and how serious it is and the reaction that we have got from this issue shows that there is a lot of work to do. Because we had things like victim blaming, we had things like sexualization, like who the hell would touch these women? Listen, these predators are sick in the head. They will go as far as raping elderly ladies and even young children, you understand? So I don't think they look at her and think, yeah, she's a sexually attractive woman. Some might do, but some also might think she's a vulnerable woman. She is a woman. So therefore, the fact that she's a woman is enough for me to go and sexually assault her.
But you know what? I think one of the things, some of the sexual assaults that have happened have actually happened in broad daylight, in the afternoon. So this idea that you went down a dark alley, you were in the park at night, that's not true. If a man wants to assault a woman, they don't care. Many of them don't care for the cloak of darkness, But like Zabida said, it is like victim blaming. Men have to learn how to control themselves, and you don't own a woman's body, and you should keep your hands to yourself. We are not animals. We are also human beings with minds, and we should be able to control them.
No, I absolutely agree with Betty there. I mean, we have discussed sexual assault, and we would, what we're going to do is we've aiming to meet up here every Sunday and discuss different topics. So we did go into sexual assault last week on Sunday, and especially sexual assault in the park. But today we'd like to speak about women getting educations. And unfortunately, some cultures, that is very much restricted. Women are not allowed to go to school. Some women have been killed just for getting an education. And I think education is key. If you look at the first university that was ever established, it was established by two Moroccan Muslim women. So if it wasn't for these, and I feel bad that I don't know their names. One of them is called Fatima, I'm sure. But if it wasn't for these two Muslim females, you wouldn't have things like Cambridge. You wouldn't have things like Oxford. So education system and the construction of universities was from two Muslim African women. And, this day and age, and in certain cultures, women are kind of promoted to just be housewives, have kids, and call it a day. But women are needed in the field. When it comes to nurses, that job is in high demand. And women are the best for that job, when it comes to nursing for pregnant ladies and when women give birth. That is a woman's job. Women are needed within society when it comes to work. And when we try to tell women to not do these things, I'm telling you, economy will fail. The economy will break down. Because there are certain fields out there that only women are good enough to do the job.
I think when I found out one of the first universities was in Africa and it was done by an African woman, I was really shocked. But when we look at the lack of education in Africa, especially for the girls, it's shocking. And it's just like, if you ask anyone on the street, how many people know that the first university was in Africa and it was set up by an African woman? It wasn't set up by a man. And so often, African women and women in general have been written out of history because history is normally seen through a man's eyes. That's why it's his story and not her story. And that's one of the reasons why we formed this women's circle, in order to tell our story. It's only a woman that can tell a woman's story, and from our point of view. So we'd call people to come to the park and to tell your story and your perspective, because it's important. We are the mothers of humanity. Life started in Africa. Everybody's related to African Eve, but so often the African woman's story is just ignored and stuff. So I think it's really important. I know in my country, Nigeria, we have, it's about 43% in the north of Nigeria of girls who are outside education and who don't get the privileges that Western girls get to have free education point of receipt. So that's one of the things that we really want to talk about, because it's really hard for a society to progress if it does not educate half of its population.
Yeah, no, I absolutely agree with Betty there, because we have to break it down to kind of two continents here, or two areas. When we speak about the West, yes, everybody's entitled to education, everybody's able to get an education. But when I speak about women, what I find is sometimes women, especially young females, they get distracted in high school. And I think that is one of the most crucial times when it comes to your educational development. Because, when I was in high school, some of my friends, female friends, were too busy with boyfriends, right? And to the point where some of them got pregnant at a very young age, at 16, and that's it. Their whole life had to start there, and their whole education was kind of put out the window. And I'm not saying you can't do both, because me, myself, I've got a 3-year-old son, and I was still able to get my education. But there are some women that are not able to do that. So to my young ladies, when you are in high school, when you are in college, if you have a boyfriend, you have a boyfriend, but don't make him the priority. Don't make him the priority, because what I find is when you're young, and a lot of girls, invest their time in their boyfriends, and they end up throwing everything else away, and then in the end it doesn't end up working. It doesn't end up working. That boy's with you for a certain bit, and you're so dedicated to him, and I think schools definitely speak about healthy relationships. They speak about sex education, right? But they don't speak about healthy relationships, and I think that's a very important thing to discuss, because as young people, sometimes we feel like we've fallen in love. Right? We're in love with this person, and we ended up dedicating and investing so much time in this person, and we end up throwing everything away. You've had about relationships about young girls getting into a relationship with boys and running away from home and neglecting their family, neglecting their education, and it doesn't work out in the end. And schools don't teach this enough. Things when it comes to sex. Instead of telling kids, if you're going to have sex, use protection, they should tell them, don't have sex until you find the one that you want. Because I feel like nowadays, especially like in my age, yeah, and kids younger than me, when I was in high school, I found everybody was having sex. And unfortunately, sex has become a very easy thing. It's supposed to be a sacred thing. And in this society, it's like become normal to just have affairs and have one-night stands, and people are starting to become devalued, and it's the woman that really suffers in the end, because she's the one that gets called a whore, she's the one that gets called a slut, she's the one that ends up getting pregnant and end up being a single mother, and I think people don't want to speak about these issues. They're trying to normalize things that are not really normal. And they say, yeah, we're living in the 21st century. Yeah, you can do what you want. And, if she wants to have sex, she can have sex. Yeah, okay, cool. But there are consequences to that rather than there are benefits. Yeah? And, they speak about liberation. Yeah, we're liberated. But I think it's getting to the point where we're becoming too liberated. There are limits. And I think people are trying to normalize exceeding the limits. There are limits set in place for our own protection. And I advocate for getting into healthy relationships, and getting to know the person. Don't give yourself off too easy, because you're too precious for that. You're too precious for some individual to come and just use you for a night and just throw you out like you're a piece of rubbish. A woman should be more respected than that. There should be more value than that. A man should work his way to be able to get something out of a woman. And women have got to the point where they're just giving that out easy, because this is what's being promoted. Have fun. You're just young. Do what the hell you want. But people don't think about the long-term consequences. And I do feel like, things like the media, things like music videos, things like Hollywood, they are definitely influencing this way of life, this lifestyle of just do what thou shalt will. You know, what Alistair Crowley stated, do what thou shalt wilt. And what that literally means is if you want to sleep around with 20 men, do it. If you want to, you know, have sex with any Tom, Dick and Harry, do it. That's what it means. Yeah, literally, do what thou shalt wilt means do what the hell you want. And that's not good for the people. We need restrictions. We need boundaries as people. You understand what I'm saying to you? And I feel like we are getting to the point where there's no boundaries anymore. Immorality has started to become very prevalent. And it's started to become the popular culture. And when you want to be more reserved and more traditional, you get called boring. It's okay to be boring. It's okay to respect yourself. It's okay to value your chastity, you know? And unfortunately, with all these main celebrity females, like Cardi B, like Beyonce, whatever, they're not really advocating for this sort of stuff. You know? They're not really advocating for this sort of stuff. And as young people are easily influenced. Easily influenced. When they're listening to this stuff, they're going to start copying this stuff. You know? And for me, that's why I struggled a lot, because I wasn't able to find somebody that I could relate to. When I'm looking at, you know, these public figures and these celebrities, I couldn't find anybody that I was relating to, because if I did start to listen to what they were doing, I'd be going against my own morals. I'd be going against my own principles. You understand? And a lot of people have ended up doing that because that's the popular thing. A lot of people have started to sell themselves in order to be accepted. Yeah, because everybody else is doing it. Even though it's not part of my culture, even though it's not part of my principles, I'm going to do it so I can feel accepted. And it's so sad that people have started to sell their morals just to be accepted within society. And for me personally, I refuse to do that. Be yourself. Be yourself.
Can I just talk? One of the things I want to talk about, education of girls in the global south. One of the problems that we have in Africa is underdevelopment, and the fact that, you know, we have many societies, people that live in the Sahara, that there's not hospitals. You know, if you do not educate the girls, when people fall sick, they might have to go 100 miles to go to the nearest hospital. So this is why it's important that girls are educated. You know, we have things like female problems, like gynecology problems, and, you know, female doctors do a good service to women, because obviously there are many women who don't want to be seen by a male doctor. And this is one of the things that I would like African girls and girls in, you know, South America, in Asia, to be educated and be able to be a female doctor and to help, you know, with female problems, stuff like that. So it's things like that that people have to remember. There are reasons why people have chose not to educate their daughters. But one of the things is, what happens when people fall sick? And when you're in the desert, you know, and you're sick and you got to put someone on a camel, yeah? And then before you know it, they die before they even get to the hospital. You know, even in this country, we have many female doctors. Many female doctors work part-time. You know, as a female doctor, you can work part-time and you can help other women maintain health through pregnancy, through menopause and all that stuff. And that's one of the reasons why it's important to educate girls, because in order to have a healthy population, you have to have qualified staff. You have to have medical staff. And this is one of the main problems that we're having in Africa, you know, especially in these remote places where governments are not going to build hospitals in the Sahara or the Sahel, you know, where there's only a few people. They're going to build it in a big city and town. God forbid you live out in the desert, then you're going to die like a rat. Yeah? So this is why it's important that we educate. Now, another thing is, we need road networks in Africa. We need train networks. One of the problems of colonization is the colonizers, the French, the Dutch, the Germans, the British, the railways and everything that they built was leading out of Africa. So, for example, if I want to go from Algeria to Lagos, Nigeria, I can't go. Yeah? There's no direct flight. There's no direct road. There's no direct railway, because Algeria was colonized by the French. Nigeria was colonized by the British, yeah? So when we have things like famines in Africa as well, you know, food is plenty in Africa, but the problem is the railways, the transport network is not there. So if there's a famine happening in Somalia and there's food in Uganda, the railway or the road is not there to transport that food effectively, yeah? So we need women engineers. We need train drivers. We need, pilots. Well, can I say big up to the Ethiopian women who did the first female flight, co-pilots, everybody was female on that flight, yeah? Where have you seen that in the West, to have a whole crew full of women? But when they talk the African story, they do not talk about African women's achievements. They just tell you war, terrorism, poverty and stuff like that. So not only is it important to educate girls and women, it's also important to celebrate the achievements of African women, because we don't get celebrated enough.
No, I absolutely agree with Betty there, and that was something new that I learnt. Because Africa is such it's a continent, technically it's a one large landmass. So you should be able technically to travel from Algeria to Nigeria. And I heard something as well that they don't actually have the African airline is very restricted when it comes to different African countries flying. Which is actually quite shocking, because realistically, it's one large landmass. You should be able to travel from Egypt to Lagos to Congo. You understand? And there should be railways, and there should be things like that. So it takes, and the thing is, like she said, we need female engineers. And do you think it's because they aren't able to be engineers because they're not allowed that access to education, or is it because they don't want to?
I think it's a bit of both. Right. I think some of it is old ideas, conservative ideas that a girl should stay at home and help with cooking and cleaning, and some of it is these girls cannot afford, their families can't afford. So if they're going to afford something, they've got sons and they've got daughters, to say, let me educate the son. The daughter can stay at home. She's got to do the cooking and cleaning. If I send my daughter out to educate it now, who's going to help me around the house? Because they don't have all these modern appliances that we have, where they have washing machines and stuff like that. So it's a hard choice. And also the money. If you've got to choose between a daughter and a son, and you don't hardly have any money, who are you really going to choose? Even if you want to educate your daughter, who are you going to choose? You're likely going to choose the son. Because a girl can always find a husband, and you hope and pray that it's a decent one. Yeah? So I think it's a bit of both. But also because there's governments, we've got many corrupt governments that are not pouring education, not pouring money into education. My dad, before he died, was a high school teacher in Nigeria, and he wasn't paid for 6 months. Yeah? So if you don't pay the teacher for 6 months, could you imagine the state of the building? Yeah. And, he was putting his own money in order to educate. We have textbooks for the pupils. And this is a regular occurrence in Nigeria, where you got doctors on strike, lawyers on strike. Cameroon, they were all on strike, the English-speaking part of Cameroon. So this is one of the reasons why education in Africa is going down, because then people are not being paid. Do you know what I mean? There's so many different issues that are going on. But Africa, and also electric. One of the problems we have in Nigeria is electric. We don't have a constant electric supply. Yeah, so a lot of people are using what they call a generator, which runs on petrol. And that costs a lot of money. And causes a lot of pollution and stuff like that. So there's several different issues that is stopping the education of girls in Africa. But we must always remember that, without a woman, no one would be here on the planet. And so like when going back to the Algiers and the Lagos, you have to fly out of Africa sometimes to go across Africa. The European Western airlines have a huge percentage of the African airways. I think African Airways only probably about 19%. African Airlines.
There's not a lot of African airlines.
No, there's not.
I mean, that's the thing, Now, last week we were speaking about India, how it's and I wanted to speak about these countries as well, because one of the top 5 worst countries to be a woman, India is on there. And in India, they have this epidemic where there has been the highest percentage of female abortions, because within certain cultures and societies within India, if a woman is pregnant and that child is a female, then she is promoted to abort that child. And I'm not sure the exact figures, but monthly, I think it's up to 100 or within thousands of female abortions in India because she is a female. One of the other top worst 5 countries to be a woman is Egypt. And yes, my husband is Egyptian, but I wanted to speak about the sexual assault in Egypt, because it's absolutely disgraceful. It is so awful. And I think Egypt is actually the first or second worst country to be a female because of the sexual assault and the rapes that happened there. I watched a lot of documentaries about females just being sexually groped, sexually assaulted, touched in their private parts. And, we have this disgusting mentality of victim blaming. Well, if she didn't want to be touched, then why the hell is she dressed like that? And unfortunately, within these first to be a woman, worst countries to be a woman, some of them are Muslim countries. And I want anyone to show me where in Islam it is halal to go up to a woman and touch her private parts. Tell me where in Islam it is halal for you to go and rape a woman. This is what makes me sick. Yeah, because you're supposed to be a Muslim country, you're supposed to be Muslim people, but yet you still find it appropriate to go and harass our sisters, to touch our sisters. I feel deeply saddened and deeply disgusted by certain things that have happened in Egypt. And I've heard things are slightly getting better because there have been women activists who have come out and spoken about their treatment and the sexual assault and harassment that's been happening to them. But there still needs to be a lot of work to do when it comes to the prosecution. Because the thing is, in these Middle Eastern countries, African countries, the prosecution rates are very, very low, which gives another reason for these people to come out and continue to do it. We need to start punishing these rapists and these sexual predators so that we can kind of teach them a lesson so that we can put other people off of doing it. But if people are not being prosecuted and they're getting away with it, then other people are going to think it's okay because if he can do it, I can do it. But once somebody is harshly punished and they are publicly humiliated like they should be, hopefully that will be in effect and make people think, no, I'm not going to do that. And the thing is as well, it comes down to lack of education as well. Because a lot of these people that do these silly things, they come from poverty areas. They're barely educated whatsoever. A lot of them are street kids. So they end up learning from the streets. And I'm not justifying it, but in order to kind of understand why these things are happening, we have to understand the mindsets of these people. We have to understand the circumstances of these people. Why are these people doing this? What's their lifestyle like? What's their background like? And this is the problem with certain societies, unfortunately. It just ends up being chaotic based on the circumstances, based on the lack of education,
All I like to say is about the females. Like, I'm gonna tell you this: that I'm encouraging females to come to Speakers Corner so we can talk about these sort of subjects, like different subjects that we can talk about in Speakers Corner. It doesn't matter if you're, black, white, Asian. It doesn't matter. But I'm encouraging my females to come to Speakers Corner so we can talk about a lot of topics because females' voices needs to be heard, and we don't have a lot of females in the park. That's why I'm encouraging my females to come to Speakers Corner, and let's talk about different topics and make a sister circle, and leave it from that. Yeah.
Yeah. So big up to Zabid and big up to Rashma. Yeah, so there are many different challenges that we're facing. I don't know too much about Egypt. I've been to Egypt, but I don't know too much about. I don't know too much about the issues in Egypt. That they had that revolution a couple of years ago and stuff. So, but one of the things is it's just really important that that we speak up. I know when we've done videos, we've seen some of the negative comments from the men, but I just also want to say a big thank you to the men that have bigged us up, because what we've had is men come and talk to us and tell us, encourage us and stuff like that. So I want to let people know and let the men know that the men that are encouraging us and that support us, like your husband and the gentleman here as well, that support us, and thank you so much for the love and that, we appreciate you, and also bring your daughters, your wives as well.
I just want to say that I really appreciate the males out there, the brothers who support me from day one, Walid and Mohib, and other brothers supported me from day one. I really appreciate their support and love, and that's what we need as as sisters. We need brothers more supporting us, encouraging us to come to Speakers Corner, and yeah.
Yeah, that's what I just want to say. I want to say, to people like Raven, to Raj, to all the men that have supported.
Yeah, like
And
Raj, yeah.
Yeah, and the random men that have come up to us, and it really, like last week we had a really engaging talk with a gentleman from Pakistan, and he was talking about the problems of women not getting and this paid the same, even though they're qualified in Pakistan, and finding that many of the women's movements have an agenda. A lot of it's to do with contraception and population control and stuff like that. But there's more important issues, because obviously Pakistan is a Muslim country. There are more important issues like women getting paid the same for the same level of education. So those things.
Yeah, I mean, that's it. For us, we're trying to be the stepping stone here in a sense. I don't really think recently anyway, because I'm sure there's been a lot of female voices in this park, but recently there has been for me, before I came to this park, I didn't really see any vocal women here, and speaking about women's issues specifically as well. And a lot of people have said to me, you don't speak for all women. Yeah, of course I don't speak for all women, because all women are different, But it's good to have a variety of things, because even though we are agreeing on majority of things, there might come a time when we will disagree, and I think that shows diversity. And I mean, we have Isabella here. I don't know if you wanted to say anything, 'cause this is another woman here. It's another woman here joining us. And this is the thing, we're all different people, we're all different individuals, right? So there might come a time where we get into a heated discussion that we might disagree on, but that's the whole point of it, because somebody might agree with Betty and not agree with me, or somebody might agree with me and not agree with Rashma, We're all different females, you understand? So, and every female needs somebody to relate to, and we're all different, we're not all the same here, you understand? And to all those negative people in those comment sections, to be honest, really and truly, just shame on you, first of all. But this is not going to stop us, because I think we have this kind of expectation as females, it's going to come. But this won't stop the battle, you understand? And it's a shame as females who are out here speaking about serious stuff that they have to receive a lot of hate, and that is part of the problem. As long as that continues, then we're going to have to continue to fight, because we are here trying to highlight serious issues that nobody wants to speak about. And for the fact that we are speaking about it, we have received so much hate. So there's a problem. There was a problem, because if we were speaking about how we were going to seduce a man and sexually please a man, I guarantee we wouldn't be having the same response. I guarantee we wouldn't be having the same response. Yeah? A lot of men said, oh, these ugly 3 women are rare, cool. And then there's somebody out there for everybody. You might find me absolutely hideous, but my husband finds me absolutely beautiful. You might say Betty's ugly. There might be someone out there that adores Betty. You might say Rashma's this, but there might be someone out there that will give the world to Rashma. Who the hell are you? And a lot of these men that are out here, calling us names, trust me, you ain't looking like nothing either. Yeah, you're looking like something that, you know what I'm saying? And I can understand why you're so stressed. Yeah. A lot of these men on the internet are very sexually deprived. When they see the sight of the woman, they don't know how to control themselves. That's why they start spewing out all this nonsense to get the woman's attention. And it's a very tactical thing, because if you're going to cuss a woman, of course she's going to notice it. So therefore, you're doing anything to get the woman's attention so that she can eventually reply to you. We're not going to entertain you. We've got bigger things to worry about. I don't know if you want to say something, Isabella, about women's issues and.
Oh, yeah, sure. Oh, the microphone. Wait, are we live?
Yeah. No, it's not live.
Okay, all right then. Women's issues, yeah. You're right. If, like, for example, Hatun from DCCI, people just laugh at her. Me, I find her funny. Yeah, she's funny. She's got a very squeaky voice, especially when she's shouting. She gets a lot of hate, and I don't think she deserves it. She has the right to say what she wants to say, and it's called Speaker's Corner because everyone is entitled to their opinion. And I completely echo about what Zubaida said just now about, everyone is beautiful in their own way. It's so cheesy to say it, but it really is so true. Like, everyone, there is someone out there for everyone. And for guys to sit on the internet and be like, oh, she's a hoe, or she's not covered her head, or, oh, her legs are showing too much, or she's too fat, she's too this, and, or, it's not good. And it sets a bad example for young girls, especially very impressionable teenage girls. Like when you're at the age of 11, 12, 13, you started secondary school. Maybe there's a girl, like for me, I'm 21. I had a girl in my class who was same age as me. She was in my class. We had maths class together. She was very dark skinned. And she said to me once, and it literally broke my heart, because my mum is black. She said to me once, I hate being black. I said, why? You're beautiful. Like, you've got such rich, like, melanin, like, tones. I'm like, you're so stunning. And this girl could have been a model. She was like 6 foot. She was slim. She was everything that I wanted to be as a short 5'3" chubby mixed race girl. No, I've never been that slim model type, and I've always been, really curvy, to say the least. And she had everything going for her. The guys liked her. She was perfect. And she just said to me once, like, I wish I was the same color as you. I feel like I'm not beautiful. And that really broke my heart. And I was like, why are you saying that? Like, my mum is the same color as this girl, who's very dark, very, very, very dark, rich, like, cappuccino tones. And why is it that black women, and especially black teenage girls, young girls, even guys, they feel the need to bleach their skin? And the problem is with the media, with celebrities, Nicki Minaj, Beyonce, they've all bleached their skin. And it's setting such a terrible example to these impressionable children that think that they're inferior and that they're not worthy of love, and that it leads to a lifetime of destruction for them, because once you start hating yourself and who you are, it makes you feel like you're not worth love. You're not. Well, I mean, I'm waffling now, but it's true. I think you understand what I'm saying. No one should feel that no one gets to choose their skin color. I didn't get to choose being mixed race. My dad's white, Irish. My mum's Jamaican. I didn't get to choose that. And, my boyfriend, he didn't get to choose that he's Moroccan, and he is beautiful. But there are some people out there that would find him not attractive, and that's totally okay. Each to their own. I think Zubaida has the most beautiful eyes. Like, they're like marbles, and they're so captivating. They really are, and I wish my eyes were like that. When I was younger, I used to wear contact lenses to have, I thought brown eyes were boring, and brown eyes are beautiful. Like, I love brown eyes. They're so, they're like puppy eyes. They're so cute. They're so, mysterious. But there's something about, like, bright green eyes that are like, wow, this girl is stunning, and you are as well. Your husband. No, of course he finds you beautiful because you're his wife, and even if you were, which you are not, but even if you were ugly, he'd still love you because you're his wife, and he loves you and he wants to care for you. And I don't even think he understands anything I'm saying, because I don't know if you do. Okay, that's good. Oh, of course, she is beautiful. I know. Does he get girls flirting with him?
Yeah,
Sometimes. And I bet he's like, fuck off, bro. I've got a girlfriend. I've got a wife, and I'm not interested because I love her, and she's my everything, and she's my world. And even Zubaida was saying earlier, oh, well, you two get on each other's nerves. All couples do, especially married couples, especially if they're living together. Of course, you're gonna get on each other's nerves. You're both human, of course. That doesn't take away any of the love that you guys have for each other, and it shouldn't, because you're perfect together. And inshallah, you guys are going to be together for a very, very long time, hopefully forever, and hopefully you have babies together. Because, Reshma wants to speak now, and I'm pretty much done in what I'm saying, but anyone who has prayers, just keep praying to the Lord, because He's the only one that can save us. And I just want to give a big shout out. I don't know if is this going to go on YouTube? I want to give a big shout out to my daughter. I love you. She's only 10 months, and I know for a fact she's not going to be watching this, but maybe one day she will when she's like 16. Oh, that's my mummy. So, Louisa, mummy loves you so much, and, I thank God for everything that is a blessing in my life. And I'll pass over to my sister Reshma.
Thank you. I just want to say a quick message is big up to the real ones who supported me, and thank you all for all of the love that people give me in Speaker's Corner. I really appreciate it. To the brothers as well, to the sisters, and that's it. And to the real ones, I give it to Zabida.
So, yeah, that's it, guys. Big up to COE for allowing us this platform, allowing us this chance to discuss these topics. To all my sisters, to all my ladies, to all my queens out there, get me, Speaker's Corner is a place where we can discuss any topic that you like. You know, as long as we keep it respectful, we keep it mature, we keep it clean, there's an audience out there. You know, so if you've got a message to get across, just come through. Get me? My name is Abeda. Hit me up anytime. Sister Rashma, Betty was over here. Isabella was over there. Get me? So, big up. Don't know. Cheese.
Content over everything. From your belly.
Come, man, say it straight. Man, don't listen to BBC. Man, don't listen to ITV.
Listen. Body. When we go to the body.